Hey folks, this is Rampage, and this is my review for Impact for March 20th. Put on a hell of a show this week. We started off with an Ultimate X match where the Wolves faced off against the BroMans, being Jesse Goddard and Zema Ion this week, and the Revolution being Sonata and Manic. First off, the teams were a little bit interesting. We had the BroMans not being Robbie E this week. After his loss to Brooke, he's still down, he's backstage. He's not over his loss, doesn't know what he's doing, so Zema, you go fight this week. It was good to see Zema Ion out there. The guy can go, and he put on a hell of a show this week. Revolution this week was Sonata and Manic. I'm sort of wondering if this is sort of like the old Freebird style, like, hey, the Revolution's involved. Which one of the 7 guys do you want to come out and be in this match? I was expecting it to be Storm and Abyss, but you know what? Sonata and Manic for Ultimate X, this worked. This match is great. Lots of high-flying action. I love pretty early on, Manic basically starts directing traffic of like, hey, you know what? Let's take out the Wolves first. And they basically spend a lot of time double-teaming the Wolves. And of course, they wind up turning on each other, and you got the BroMans and Revolution fighting. So, ton of amazing spots in here. I sort of love like the pile of people up in the corner spots where it's like, okay, well, this guy's on the top. Knock him down, or like basically double him over on the top, climb on his back, get up on the top ropes. Really awesome spots. Everyone is wind up being pulled off the high wire at some point. At the very end, though, the Wolves are on top, and they do the cool like hook your legs over and sort of, I don't know, zip line yourself across. At which point, they actually do retain their titles in this match, which is really good to see. I enjoyed this match a lot. After that, we have Austin Aries comes out, and he calls out Loki and Samoa Joe, being like, hey guys, you know what? You got my briefcase. Bring it out here, my briefcase back. Loki and Samoa Joe come out there, gets in their face. They're like, we got this, we ain't giving it to you. So Austin Aries tries to challenge Loki for a X Division title match versus the briefcase. Loki basically turns him down and says, hey, you beat Samoa Joe, we'll talk. At that point, we get Austin Aries versus Samoa Joe. Hell of a match. This was a really awesome match with Joe getting a ton of offense in the early goings. That Austin Aries makes a killer comeback. It's sort of sad to see this be Samoa Joe's last match in Impact. But he put on a hell of a performance out there. In the end, they're on the outside of the ring. Aries gets the upper hand, at which point Loki just blasts him on the outside. Basically, double team beatdown. They roll him back into the ring. And Joe's sitting there holding him, and Loki grabs the briefcase and basically goes... Or, like... yeah, what? Basically, they both get laid out because Aries dodges the briefcase shot, and and Loki lays out Samoa Joe. Then Aries lays out Loki, grabs the briefcase, hey, look at me, greatest man alive, or greatest man that ever lived, sorry, and he walks off. And as he's walking up the entrance ramp, his briefcase in hand, who do we see? Rockstar Spud comes down with his. Rockstar Spud sort of looks at him for a minute, and Aries like, go get him! And he goes down, hands the briefcase off to Earl Hebner, Hebner rings the bell, Spud grabs him, hits the underdog, I think it's a great name for his move, and basically, bam, pinfall, 1, 2, 3, new X Division champion, Rockstar Spud. I think this is awesome. This is the perfect transition. We have him last week, he sort of finishes up his whole feud with Ethan Carter III, so we sort of got him out from under the whole... Like, hey, you're a manager, you're funny. We showed the last week he can wrestle. This week he basically comes in with the briefcase and takes the title off Loki. Now we're going to have to see if he can defend it. But I think this is an awesome setup, and I thought that was a great moment. Hell, I want the little hashtag I'm with Spud t-shirt at this point. After this, we wind up with this big backstage brawl between Magnus and Bram. It's basically Magnus just beating the ever-living hell out of Bram. I guess slamming him in a roadbox. He puts him on a roadbox and like slams it across the backstage area. He's throwing these big empty boxes at him. Finally, they brawl down to the ring. And he's just like decimating her. I don't know if Bram got really any offense in at all. Eventually the refs come down, they're trying to hold him back, they're trying to hold back Magnus, like. At which point, Mickie James comes running down, and she has that half second where she turns and she looks at Magnus, who's being restrained by the referees, and then she turns and just starts beating the hell out of Bram, which I thought was awesome. That's well within her character. I think it was really awesome to see. I was sort of liking the fact that they're not afraid to let the women wrestle the men these days. I don't think we're going to see Mickie James versus Bram out of this, but I do like the fact that they're not like, oh, she can't touch him, he's a guy. That was really cool. After that, speaking of the knockouts, we have Taryn Terrell versus Gail Kim and Awesome Kong in a triple threat knockouts title match. This was a really cool match. It was just about what I was expecting it to be. It starts off with Taryn Terrell and Gail Kim basically double teaming Awesome Kong almost constantly. There's lots of them hitting like double team moves, drop kicks, all sorts of crazy stuff. He's doing everything they can to take Kong off her feet. And then usually at some point Kong comes back with a double clothesline or basically some crazy attacks. And they go back and forth with this, where it's Taryn Terrell and Gail Kim versus Awesome Kong, and they're just about stalemated during most of this course of this match. Kong gets pushed to the outside, at which point it becomes Gail Kim and Taryn Terrell competing to who can get to the top rope first to try to hit the flying attack. And they wind up fighting each other at that point. In the end, Taryn Terrell gets the win over Gail Kim. And you see her sort of sitting there with the title afterwards, sort of shock and awe. But she didn't get the win over Awesome Kong. So I think that's going to be the sort of missing piece there that we're going to see a little bit more of. I think it's Taryn Terrell has to beat Awesome Kong, and that's going to be her arc, her growth. She came in as a referee, she worked her way in the Knockouts division, worked her way up to champ, but that's still the roadblock she hasn't yet overcome. Awesome match. I think there's good things to come from there. After that, we have James Storm versus Matt Hardy in a no DQ match. This was a good match. I enjoyed this a lot. But the no DQ stipulation and some of the spots they did were a bit much. I enjoy a good hardcore match. I don't like some of the, hey, it's a hardcore match and it's just violence for violence sake. This was a lot. This is sort of the retaliate. It's supposed to be like Matt's like redemption after what happened to Jeff Hardy. And we're not going to get that in this match. This is thumbtacks, this is chairs, it was a brutal match, and actually James Storm does pick up the win, and one of my new favorite, I guess, exchanges of moves is he hits the last call superhero Matt Hardy, who basically staggers back into the ropes, bounces back, and then he hits him with it again for the pinfall, which I thought was really cool. Post-match, the rest of the Revolution actually winds up beating down Matt Hardy again. He basically wraps him up on the ring ropes, and James Storm's talking to him. Like, there's always room for one more in the Revolution, and then clocks him across the back of the head. We sort of a strange thing. It's like, okay, they keep saying that, hey, we can recruit you to people that we've just beat the shit out of. So, I don't know. It's a weird thing to see, but it's sort of NWO-esque. So I'm still waiting for sort of the Revolution versus the BDC. We didn't get a lot of the BDC this week. All we had Low-Key and Samoa Joe, but there is no MVP, there is no Kenny King. So I'm not sure if that's a little bit of a back burner, because tonight's all about the title matches or not. But Revolution versus the BDC might be the next thing. I can see this going to a stable war type thing. But we'll have to see. Our last match tonight is Kurt Angle versus Bobby Lashley for the world title. This was not my favorite match. It was a good match. They start off with a lot of amateur wrestling holds. It's a lot of Bobby Lashley being the powerhouse and overpowering Kurt Angle. Then basically back to some holds. And in the end, Kurt does pick up the win with, I believe it's the second or third time he locks the ankle lock onto Lashley. And Lashley does tap out. I don't know, Lashley's title reign hasn't quite connected with me. I still feel like the BDC is missing something. Like, they need a force to oppose. They can't oppose TNA because TNA doesn't have like a face. There's no authority figure from the oppose, so they've been sort of going after the world title. Then Kurt Angle wanted the world title, so it was Kurt Angle versus Lashley. It's sort of Kurt's road to redemption. Hey, I can still do this. I don't know, this just didn't... The story didn't grab me as much as the other stories have. It was still a good match, and I still definitely enjoyed it, but it definitely was not my favorite. So next week, the big thing they're advertising is Jeff Hardy's return, and we're getting Jeff Hardy versus James Storm in 6 Sides of Steel. So that'd be a good match to see. That's the only match they've announced so far. So we'll have to wait till next week and see what they show. That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed my review of the show. If you click right here on the Rampage reviews or the Impact Wrestling logo, you can subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel for all future updates. I put these reviews out every week. I review Raw, NXT, Lucha Underground, and Impact Wrestling. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.